Another tough game for the Yankees, who had just broken their 7-game losing streak. They dropped one to the Mets in heartbreaking fashion, 7-6 last night. I know everybody wants to talk about the benches clearing incident, and we'll get there in a second, but there's a few other things we got to get to first. Let's start with the starting pitcher, Clarke Schmidt. You might remember that Clarke Schmidt was a top prospect for the last couple of years. He's already had Tommy John surgery. When he came up last year, it was evident to me, just as somebody who studies pitching mechanics, that he opens up his front side too much and that he was missing a lot with his release point. He was not consistent. He was missing up and arm side a lot. He would try and overcorrect and he would pull it outside. Everything that we had seen in the winter from his bullpens were that he had kind of adjusted his mechanics. He was driving his momentum more towards home plate. But last night I saw more of the same, and maybe it was just trying to do too much because it was Sunday night baseball. But his command was not there. He went 4 1/3. He gave up 7 hits. He was behind on seemingly every hitter. He walked 3 hitters. He struck out 2 hitters, gave up 1 home run to Francisco Lindor. 5 runs, just 2 earned runs. When I look at Clarke Schmidt, I see a guy who needs more reps in the minor leagues. I like his fastball. It's mid-90s. I like his curveball. It's got a good downward break. I don't like his release point. I don't like the way he drives down the mound. He was still falling off towards first base way too much. And we said it before the game. These are the things you have to watch for. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of those same bad habits once again. Andrew Heaney came in and pitched 2/3 of an inning. He didn't give up any home runs, so hooray for him. Giancarlo Stanton had a big night. He got the scoring started with a 2-run double. He also hit his 27th home run of the season. And there was a bit of a benches clearing incident. It stemmed from Wandy Peralta apparently was whistling, which signals, I guess, what pitch is coming. Now, it's completely legal in baseball to whistle if a pitcher is tipping his pitches. It's completely legal. It's a different story to do the electronic thing that the Astros were doing or bang the trash cans or whatnot. That's illegal. But if a pitcher is tipping his pitches and somebody on the staff or somebody on the bench notices it, you're allowed to relay that to your hitter. That's just gamesmanship. That's just part of the game. That's been going on forever, for as long as there's been baseball. I know when I played, they used to say first name fastball, last name breaking ball. So, if I was up there to hit and the guy was tipping his pitches, it was going to be a fastball. They say, come on, Derek, let's go. And if it was going to be a breaking ball, come on, Lev. Come on, Levy. That's the way baseball is. But Giancarlo Stanton hit his 27th home run of the year last night. Francisco Lindor was chirping a lot, but I don't think he wants any part of Giancarlo Stanton. I don't think anybody wants any part of Giancarlo Stanton. And it's funny that they waited until Judge left the game. Judge left the game with dizziness, apparently. That's all we need. You hope that it was just like a contact issue. You saw them putting drops in his eyes. And I know that, if you have vision issues, it can cause dizziness. Ear issues can also cause dizziness. Maybe he got some dirt in his ear. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I'm just praying to the baseball gods, to all the gods of every religion, that Aaron Judge is going to be just fine. Gleyber Torres hit a home run last night. It was his 7th of the year. He was 1 for 4. He's hitting .252 on the season, .676 OPS. He also made an error at short that led to 3 unearned runs. Gleyber continues to be an enigma. I like Gleyber Torres as a man. I think that he's got a good personality. He seems like a ton of fun. I've never liked his swing. He does have a lot of power when he barrels it up. But unfortunately, the power just hasn't been there this year. Just 7 home runs. And defensively, he's not been that impressive. I still think he's a second baseman. I know we have several people that comment on this channel that believe if you move him back to second base, then his offense will come around. I don't necessarily think there's a solid correlation there. Sure, he might be able to focus a little bit more on his hitting if he moves back to second base, but still going to have to relearn second base, get used to playing there again. I don't think he's played second base all year. I'm a little bit concerned with Gleyber Torres long term. I know he's big on Twitch streaming and video games and things like that. And sure, that keeps him out of trouble off the field. You want guys that are going to be kind of homebodies and just kind of not get caught up in the city life of New York City. But I also want guys who can play baseball. He had a good night, but overall not a great season for Gleyber Torres. Did run into a home run last night. DJ LeMahieu picked up 3 hits and a walk last night. He's got the OPS up to 718, hitting .271 on the year. If you had told me before the year that a completely healthy DJ LeMahieu would hit .270, I would have said you're crazy. Just too good of a hitter for that. Outside of that, not a lot of offense from the Yankees. Joey Gallo picked up just his second ever sac fly last night. I thought that was a good sign. When you had a runner on third, I said it on the live stream. I did a 1 or 2 inning live stream, and I was saying, look, right here, a walk doesn't help you and a strikeout doesn't help you. You got to put the ball in play. And to his credit, he did. That's winning baseball. Unfortunately, the Yankees were not able to get it done last night. They have fallen back in the wild card significantly. Toronto's red hot. They scored 22 runs against the Orioles yesterday. It drives me nuts to see other teams just hammer the Orioles, and the Yankees can't get it done against the Orioles. That's where it comes down to this offense. This offense all season has failed to capitalize on bad pitchers. And that's something they need to address in the offseason. Whether it's the entire hitting philosophy start to finish, or maybe getting a few more consistent hitters, a few less strikeouts in the order. I don't know. I know there's a lot of concern about Aaron Judge right now. Let's just wait and see what happens, what the reports are before we jump to any conclusions. The Yankees are still in this thing. They still have a shot to get the wild card. There are 19 games left. If you go 14-5, I think you win the wild card. But you've got to turn it around right now. They have failed to capitalize against the Angels, against the Orioles, against the Blue Jays, and now the Mets. These are teams that, if you want to be considered a World Series contender like I know the Yankees do, you just got to beat these guys. You've got to do better. I got to give a shout out to Giancarlo Stanton, though. I mean, the guy just keeps improving this year. Since you put him in the outfield, and I know he had this recent slump, but since he went to the outfield, he's been playing great. Hit his 27th home run. He might get to 30 home runs this year. I don't know if he's definitely going to do it, but I'd say, minimum 29, maximum maybe 32. That's a solid year, especially given how bad he started and the stretch he had after the All-Star break. He tends to go in streaks where he'll be red hot or ice cold. I like that he's using the whole field. You saw him rip the double to right field last night. His OPS on the season now sits at 852. That's pretty solid. That's really good. Judge is at 912, so Stanton is second on the team. The Yankees have a day game today, 2 p.m. It's a makeup game against the Minnesota Twins because of that rainout from the hurricane a couple of weeks ago. And then they go to Baltimore for 3. You have got to win the next 4 games, period. Full stop. Minnesota is a punching bag, especially against the Yankees, and Baltimore just got demolished. The Yankees need to prove that they can beat some of these bad teams. You can't play mediocre baseball and expect to win. There's only a couple of weeks left, and you're still waiting around to get going. That's one of the problems I have with this team mentality. They all year long keep saying, well, when we get going, eventually we're going to get going. Eventually we should get going. Eventually we're going to play like we're supposed to. If you just write off that eventually you're going to get going, before you know it, it's September 12th or September 13th, and you are not in playoff position. Next year, regardless of what happens the rest of this season, the Yankees need to focus on getting off to a good start. They need to jump out of the gate, 8-2, 12-5, something like that. Get more than 5 games over 500 right from the get-go. And then you're just tacking on all year rather than fighting that uphill climb to be respectable. Then you can deal a little bit better with injuries or unexpected illnesses that may pop up. Hopefully we'll be done with that next year. We'll see. After Baltimore, the Yankees have 3 at home against Cleveland and then 3 more against Texas before they have an off day on the 23rd. Then they play 3 against Boston in Boston, another day off, and then they finish off the season with 3 against Toronto. That should be a good series if both teams are in it for the wild card hunt. And then you finish off with 3 against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay will probably be resting some guys, probably trying to line up their pitching for the playoffs. So you may luck out there because they're not going to be playing with the intensity that they would if they were trying to win the division. They're going to have the division wrapped up by that point. They've already got the division wrapped up, if we're being completely honest. So the Yankees have some winnable games. You've got to take care of business against Minnesota, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Texas first. That's a foregone conclusion. You have got to win these games, as many of them as possible. And then Boston and Toronto, both fighting and scratching and clawing for playoff spots. You got to go in there ready to play. You got to go in there ready for war if you want to make the postseason. It's going to be a stressful couple of weeks. On Tuesday night, the Yankees do get Gerrit Cole back against Baltimore, so hopefully that will be a way for him to kind of ease back in. I think Gerrit Cole, even at 80%, handles the Baltimore Orioles. But then his next start should be against Texas. Might be against Cleveland if they give him an extra day off just to rest that hamstring, which wouldn't surprise me. I think they'll be cautious with Gerrit Cole. But at this point in the season, you got to kind of throw caution to the wind and just go for broke. Just try and win this thing. You want to try and make it so that he lines up to pitch a potential wild card game, but you've also got to try and win every single start that he has between now and then. You've got to try and win every game. Yankees could use another 13-game win streak, I'll tell you that much. One thing I do like that Major League Baseball does is they make all of the games on the final day of the season begin at the same time, 3 o'clock Eastern time, and it's on a Sunday. I remember a couple of years ago when they had that crazy day. It was the day that Evan Longoria hit that home run to win it for the Rays against the Yankees that knocked Boston out of the playoffs, I believe. And they actually put a marker up in their stadium for where that home run landed, 162. Evan Longoria, man, that guy used to absolutely demolish the Yankees. Absolutely demolished them. Glad to have... I know he's aged a little bit, but I have a feeling if he was still with the Rays, he would still demolish the Yankees. The Yankees had no clue how to pitch to Evan Longoria. Really great player. All right, I see we're at about 12 minutes and 45 seconds, and I've covered everything that I had to cover. Let me talk about Francisco Lindor a little bit. You know, Lindor is one of those guys who I think felt the pressure from that $340 million contract with the Mets. But he may have had his coming out party last night with the Mets. 3 home runs against the Yankees on Sunday Night Baseball. You heard A-Rod say that this could be his, I guess, breakout moment with the Mets or whatever. And I believe it. I believe it. I think it's a confidence thing with him. I don't think the league has figured him out. For all I've heard, he hasn't been hurt. He's still played some pretty good defense at times. And granted, I haven't watched as many Mets games as Yankees games. I've only watched, periodically when it's on. But to me, when I watched him, he just didn't seem confident at the plate. And confidence is big for a hitter. You've got to go up there knowing that you can beat this guy out there on the mound. And for much of the season, he looked like he was lost. He looked like he was feeling the pressure from the fans. But hitting those home runs last night should get some of the fans on his side. If he finishes out strong over the next couple of weeks, I don't think the Mets are going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're, within striking distance of a wild card spot, but I don't think they're going to make it. But a strong finish for the Mets and a strong couple of weeks for Francisco Lindor could really get him going for next year. I know a lot of Yankees fans, myself included, were all in on Lindor this winter. Can you imagine how Yankees fans would have reacted if he had signed a $300 million contract with the Yankees, plus whatever he had to give up to get him, and then he struggled this much? My God. And Yankees fans, I think, are way tougher on players than Mets fans because we expect to win just based on the team history. All New York fans expect to win, but Yankees fans, I feel like, want it a little more because we've had so many parades, so many championships. We have this I guess, legacy, this history of winning championships, the most successful franchise in sports history. And when our players don't perform, they hear it. You know, Joey Gallo's already getting booed. Giancarlo Stanton got booed for a long time. If he goes into another slump, he'll get booed again, despite the fact that he's had a pretty good year and he's really stepped it up. New York fans can be tough. They can really be tough. But, you know, Lindor had a good night, and maybe he's turning it around. All right, guys, I will see you for the post-game recap. Going to be nice and early tonight, probably around 5:30 p.m., so stay tuned for that. Reminder to like and subscribe, and check out my other channel, Huge Baseballs. The link is in the description. I'm going to be posting a lot more content that's applicable to all baseball fans, not just Yankees fans. And go ahead and subscribe to the Frieze on whatever podcast platform you use, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher or Audible, whatnot. Go ahead and give it 5 stars. We're continuing to climb up the charts. We're doing a little bit better. It takes a while. There's a lot of Yankees podcasts out there. But I'm confident that due to my great audience spreading the word, we'll continue to grow. And next year should be a banner season for NYY Recaps and the Frieze.